So the hand starts with under the gun who limps,
Okay.
who not too much. Well, it's just he's a decent regular player that I play with a bunch of times. So the game so far is pretty passive. People are holding a lot. So I am in the cutoff with ace three of diamonds.
Okay.
So I decided to raise to 50,
Over one
which is
limp,
usually the
right?
standard sizing. Yeah, over one limper
Okay.
under the gun.
Okay.
So 50 is usually standard size in this game over one limper because just limpers usually get punished a lot.
hmm
So if also under the gun he's done like calls, the effective stack size is about 2,000.
Okay. So limp, you make it 50. He calls with about 2K effective, right? Okay.
So the flop comes Jack 7 to 2 diamonds, the 7 and 2 diamonds, and the Jack of spades.
Okay. So jack of clubs, seven of diamonds, deuce of diamonds. You flop the nut flush draw. Okay.
Right.
Uh huh.
So he checks, and I see that 35.
So check and hero bets 35. Okay.
Right. I thought this was an appropriate sizing because it's a pretty dry board, to be honest, other than flush draws, and I would probably choose this sizing for like all of my over pairs and stuff like that. So I thought small will be a good sizing here. So he calls. Right.
Okay. So 35 and a call, 35 into 100 and a call. So now the pot is 170. I'm trying to think about the sizing. You've got a backdoor, obviously not flush draw. You've got backdoor wheel draw. There's a fair amount of barrel cards here too on the turn. I guess you're trying to keep his range kind of on the wider side. I mean, it's interesting that he limps in. I might want to start putting a lot of pressure on some pairs and stuff that might take off like fours, fives, but I suppose you can size up later on here too. So the pot's 170.
Yeah. So the pot's 170 calls, and now the turn is the 3 of spades.
Okay.
I make a pair now.
Yep.
Once again, he checks, and I was a little bit on the 50-50 side, but like I said, it makes sense to put pressure on hands like 5, 6s and those kind of hands. So I decided to size up here for 110.
I might actually bet larger than this. If you were going to start with a small sizing here, which was 35 into like whatever 110, so that like literally like every little piece is continuing on the flop here, even though now that you're paired, but obviously any 7x and when I think of like under the gun limp calls, I'm thinking pairs like fours, fives, sixes. And the 3 is a blank, by the way. It's one of the few blanks on the turn. If I pick up equity here, which you have with ace 3 of diamonds, I'm going to go full pot to maybe even over bet. And by the way, you're supposed to be in theory going for this type of sizing in a situation like this with over pairs here too. So it's not really unbalanced. So I think I might go 150 to 200. If he calls again, you most likely give up on blank runouts, assuming that he's got Jack X. Occasionally you'll beat some draws that he might have here too. And then, not only are you sort of getting the fold equity here on the turn from basically everything but a Jack, but it's not the absolute worst thing in the world. If he calls, you're building a pot up to sort of a nuttish type of hand. So I would have gone larger here. You bet one, and that is because of your small sizing on the flop.
Right. Yeah, I think I might have forgot how big the pot was by that point. For some reason, just thought 3x was going to be like the size of the pot. So yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I agree. This is probably too small.
So you bet 110.
Well,
okay.
Right. Well, this is where things get interesting now because now he decides to check raise to 325.
So just like 3x, like a little, well, not quite a dink and dunk, but a check raise. Not huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that big, but.
And obviously, the first thing that jumps out at me, obviously a 3 doesn't do anything, right? So what does this represent?
Exactly.
What does this
He's pretty much saying that he has 7s or deuces pretty much, right?
Or 3,
take...
or possibly 3s because of your small sizing on the flop. I mean, when you bet 35 into, 110, it's possible that 3s with a 3 of diamonds might supposed to be defended, whether or not that's overfolded or not. But it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. Usually he's going to open jacks up here, right? So I would think he'd open sevens, but it's representing a set is what it is, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah, because he doesn't have 7-3 or 7-2-3. I can't
Right.
imagine him making no sense. But it's
Right.
also like it's really hard for me to put him on threes just because I have the 3 of diamonds. So, I'm assuming at this point that he just mostly has 7 for this. This is what he's saying that he has.
Right. There's there's one combo of threes. I mean, obviously here you have a call. I mean, the pot's 280. It's 605, and it's only like 200 for you to call. You're getting 3-1 in immediate odds. This is actually a spot that you actually want to have, right? Because this is a great situation because you're getting almost the right price. Plus, you've got a lot of implied odds if somebody has a set. The other thing too here about your hand is that it's not just a flush draw. It's actually better than a flush draw. Not in the sense that if you have a set that you can improve, but one of the outs won't pair the board. Where like if you didn't have a pair here, there'd be 2 of the cards, right, that would fill your flush draw that would pair the board. But because you have a 3, now only the jack of diamonds is going to do that. So obviously you have a call here.
Yeah. It's a fairly easy call. Now the river is the jack of diamonds, which is pretty much the one card that makes things really interesting.
So the pot here is 820, I believe, in something like that.
Yeah,
right?
it's somewhere around that size.
Yeah.
Something around that.
So the river is the jack of diamonds, the one card that could get a little hairy in a spot like this.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing that happened. So actually, this is one of the things that happened that I had to discuss first. So what happened was that since we're wearing masks again, I believe it's we're wearing masks. No. So what happened was he throws like a small chips, like he throws like all white chips in the center, and I don't hear that well, but I'm pretty sure he said all in. However, the dealer didn't hear it, so I just have to confirm and ask him like, did you say all in? And like this went back and forth discussing like whether he was really all in or not, but I had to double check with him.
So he threw out a bunch of white chips, but you were unclear as to whether or not he was all in. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, so there was like pretty much only like 2 people heard him say all in, which was the player on his right, and I barely heard him say that. But like nobody else heard him say that, so we had to like clarify that at first. And I'm just gonna mention this at the end because there was an interesting like conclusion about this apparently if I didn't hear him say that, and if I made the call. But yeah, so he decides to go all in pretty much, and he has me covered, and I have like 1.6K behind.
So it's a 2x. So he's moving all in for like 1,600. So it's a 2x pot size bet here, right? It's 2x pot size bet. So obviously you're scared here of a full house. I mean, that's what makes the most sort of sense. I got to tell you though, I still don't know if I'm going to make this large deviation. If you want to fold off like non-nut flushes here, like let's say that you had like race with like king 10 of diamonds or something like that, and then you get here and you want to fold those, okay. But it's still 510, 2,500 cap. The jack pairs, I mean, obviously it's the worst card in the world for you. It's not like it's a 10x bet. It's a 2x bet here. So I think I'm going to call down with the nut flush here. But, like I said, going down the line, I think maybe folding smaller flushes actually, will make some sense here too. I'm trying to think if he's got a hand like, are there any draws here that would be played this way where he would just rip? So 8, 9 of diamonds, 9, 10 of diamonds. This is why I think I probably call down here. Like if hands like that are taken once in a great while for sort of delayed turn check raise semi bluffs, 9, 10 of diamonds, 8, 10 of diamonds, he probably doesn't have 4 or 5. Obviously he can't have jack X of diamonds because the jack of diamonds comes at the end, right?
Right, but like if he had hands like 8, 9 of diamonds or 4, 5 of diamonds, like do you really think he's like jamming for like 2x pop? Like I don't think he would choose that sizing. I think he will go for like 2/3 or like pot size bets because he's pretty much asking to get called by just like not flush specifically and boats, like nothing else.
I mean, I tend to agree with you that would be a rare sizing, but I just think that you actually do have to have some hands here to call with. I mean, this would just be an unbelievably large exploit to just fold the nut flush out here. But, have I made folds like this? Yeah, I've made folds like this, but it's been a long time. I just think a sound approach here would be to call with the nut flush and possibly fold out other flushes here, smaller flushes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what ended up happening?
Yeah. So I thought about it for a long time and ended up just folding simply because like I just didn't think like he was bluffing with like he's just turning 4-5 or like 8-9 of diamonds into a bluff at that point for that sizing.
Did you ever find
Like
out what he had?
no, unfortunately I didn't. I
Hmm.
didn't want to ask him. Simply I didn't want to ask him, but it was I haven't really seen him like get out of line like that often either. Like I play with him like a decent amount of times. He's like a fairly decent player. It's just like his limping throws me off a lot sometimes because
Well,
I
you'd be
don't really know
surprised,
like what
Andy.
the needs.
You'd be surprised, Andy. This has actually happened before where you might find out now. Somebody might tell this guy, I think that we'll use this for a video. Someone might, this guy might hear of this call at MGM and now you might find out. Andy, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the call.